There's a reason that movie stars are really good at losing belly fat, and it's nothing to do with their workouts. I'm going to explain what I mean in today's video, where if you're struggling with belly fat and you're trying to get ripped, there's some movie star methods that I've had the privilege of deploying with either movie stars that I've actually worked with. I'm working with one right now, some high level athletes and former athletes who just don't want to lose their edge in terms of how they look physically, that work really, really well. Starting with number one, and that for most people is protein sparing fasting. Okay, now fasting is a buzzword. I love fasting, for the record. A lot of our clients use intermittent fasting, where we don't eat breakfast, we wait till the middle of the day to have our first meal, but there's an edge that we can add to this, a little bit of sharpening to the fasting method that I found works even better for a lot of guys. So a lot of people who want to get ripped struggle with appetite control. And it's hard sometimes to go from, normally eating a breakfast, maybe a mid-morning snack, a lunch, to completely wiping out all of your morning meals and putting all your calories later in the day. A lot of people's appetites don't respond well to that. So what we do to start getting you used to eating less in the early part of the day, more later in the day to control your appetite at night, what we deploy is protein sparing fasting. And that is where in the morning time, we're gonna stick to protein only, all right? Maybe a little bit of trace fats or a little bit of trace carbs, but most of your calories are gonna come from protein early on in the day. This does a couple things. One, it gives you a little bit of satiety, okay? So your stomach feels like, hey, I got something inside me. Now, I feel more satiated. I can get through the rest of the day. And the good news is we have carbs and fats and more food coming later on, so I can push through and I don't really struggle with appetite swings too much. All right, that's really, really important. Appetite control is massive. So what movie stars do, and I know this from not only research, but actually working with some and having heard some of the methods that get deployed, is for the majority of the day, they're eating protein only with a little bit of fat. Now this sounds like keto, right? Because you don't hear the word carbs in there. But more importantly, this is just maintaining appetite status quo, right? So just keeping appetite steady so that you don't have those weird cravings that pop out of nowhere and make you, go to the local store or local gas station and grab a Snickers bar. You ultimately have full control of your appetite. So how do we do this? Well, you could start the morning with a protein shake. You could have some egg whites. You could have some egg whites and chicken. You could, during the course of the morning, have a protein bar that has a little bit of fats and a little bit of carbs, but mostly protein. There's many ways to do this. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is just give our bodies what it's craving, which is really just that satiety, without overloading you with carbs and fats so that you have some for later in the day. Now, as the day goes on and you're starting to exhaust your willpower, your energy's coming down because naturally you're doing more throughout the day. So willpower is not infinite. You're gonna ultimately reach a point where your willpower runs out. And when that time comes, which is for most guys later in the day, you have plenty of carbs, plenty of fats, and some protein left over to enjoy meals that really give you that enjoyment factor, which is also a part of what we do at the True Transformation, which, by the way, if you want to pick up our Shredded Over 30 cheat sheet, this is where I deploy and give you all the movie star methods that I talk about with our clients in a nice checklist format so you can start following this stuff today. All you have to do is comment the word shred on this video and I'll send you a link where you can pick up the cheat sheet for free, all right? So the first thing is protein sparing fasting. We stick to protein early on in the day. We add carbs and fats as the day goes on. Of course, understanding the number one rule, calories. Calories have to be controlled. We have to burn more calories than we eat if we want to lose fat, especially belly fat. All right, now number two, a lot of you were probably coming to this video looking to hate on this video and say, well, celebrities take steroids and celebrities take this. Yes, a lot of them do run a cycle to get ready for a show. All right, now what do they run? Because a lot of people are immediately going to jump into, oh, it's loads of testosterone and tren and all this stuff. And while I would say a lot of celebrities probably do run those things, and I think a lot of celebrities take part in TRT, which I'm a huge believer in. I think TRT, for those who need it, is a great, great thing. Not all my clients, and nowhere near all my clients, use TRT, but some do. And most of them report less about the physical change and more about the mental change. But nonetheless, we do want to make sure our hormones are optimized. So celebrities ultimately always get full panel blood work done. And they work closely with doctors, with coaches, with accountability partners to make sure that their internal health is dialed in as they prepare for this movie role. Now, a lot of celebrities are getting ready for an extreme look. So it's not always long-term sustainable, healthy, but ultimately hormones do play a part. Now, testosterone is a phenomenal muscle building and muscle retention hormone. So naturally, celebrities will hop on testosterone, whether they need it or not in some cases. I'm not saying every celebrity does this. And by the way, you don't need to take steroids to get in great shape, assuming your health is in check, assuming your hormones are in check. You do not need to take steroids. And ultimately, it's your choice. If your hormones are not where they need to be and you're over the age of 40 or over the age of 50, it's something I would highly suggest talking to a reputable doctor about. But ultimately, there is some stuff that gets used. I would say these days, the stuff you'll probably see used more often than not is growth hormone, okay? Human growth hormone is a massive fat loss tool. It's expensive, all right? So celebrities use it knowing, hey, this movie's gonna make me a lot of money. I'm gonna invest in this, basically this human growth hormone, which does a number of things in the body, obviously, but one of the things it does help with is fat loss. I'm not telling you to take human growth hormone, but from my experience, there are celebrities out there that take it. Does this mean they can get away with eating whatever they want? No, they still stick to the basic principles: movement, muscle, meals. They get enough steps in, they track their calories, they get their workouts done, and they work with a coach to make sure it's all fine-tuned and dialed in. But they add some gas to the fire in the form of testosterone, human growth hormone. There's other fat burners like clenbuterol. And nowadays there's peptides. Okay, this is where I'm really starting to become more and more passionate, because I've seen firsthand some of the benefits of peptides, including getting over injuries, right? So BPC 157, huge injury focused peptide. So I actually had a client recently tear his tricep. He had surgery. He got back into things. And I said, hey, I want you to take BPC 157, and I believe the other one was TB 500. These are two peptides that contribute heavily to repair and tissue reproduction, okay? So what we're after here is not a magical pill. What we're after here is, hey, we're doing all the right things. What can we do to enhance the process that are pretty healthy, minimal to no side effects, that are going to work for me and not jeopardize my health? So I believe peptides are that. Now, I know the biggest peptide now is, Ozempic, semaglutide, right? These appetite destroying peptides that keep people from eating around the clock, helping people who are morbidly obese lose weight really quick. Do celebrities use these things? Absolutely. But there are more powerful peptides, things like retatrutide, or what I believe is the most upcoming powerful peptide that you're going to start to see in years to come. Hopefully I'll be one of the first ones to introduce it to you. I think there are numerous incredible benefits to using these things, obviously through the advice of a trusted professional, a doctor who can tell you what, how, and how much to use. We work with some amazing doctors, our partners in like Elevate Health. They're amazing, right? And they can help guide you on this. This is what we do for our clients. By the way, I put together a whole peptide guide. This thing is like super simple to understand and easy to read. If you want the peptide guide, just comment the word peptide on this video and I'll send it over to you. But I know celebrities these days are using peptides way more than the average person to get ready for roles, because typically movie stars are just ahead of the game. Like Hollywood has a chokehold on fitness and body transformation because that's how they make money, right? The superhero look, some of the most famous movie star roles like Fight Club physique, Troy with Brad Pitt, Ryan Reynolds, I believe it was in Blade. Like all these physiques are really polarizing. So of course, celebrities and the trainers and the coaches that work with them and the doctors that work with them are like, hey, let's push the line. Let's do as much as we can without completely jeopardizing your health. And what I found to be the case is a lot of these celebrities have really good health because they're not abusing these things for long term. Sometimes they abuse, like I know Chris Hemsworth is a perfect example. It totally looks like he's on a bodybuilder stack when he gets ready to play Thor, because his physique blows up and he gets super shredded at the same time. So clearly he's abusing some things temporarily, but then he comes off and then he looks like a guy who just works out, who's pretty fit, pretty healthy. I mean, his skin looks pretty clear. He doesn't look like he's losing hair and, completely turning into like a degenerate because of the abuse of steroids, which you've seen people like this, right? That's so long-winded way of saying that celebrities are willing to test out protocols that might be a little more cutting edge, right? Peptides, human growth hormone, and TRT or steroids like, Tren, EQ, Winstrol, Anavar. Like these things are powerful drugs that when used appropriately can make a difference in how you look. All right, that's just the truth. It doesn't take away the need to hit your baseline foundations, movement, muscle, meals. All right, so what's the next thing that these folks do? Well, the next thing is, at least from my understanding, is a lot of celebrities are high activity people when they're getting ready for roles. Okay, so I know the general rule of thumb for fat loss these days is 10,000 steps, but after working with a couple, movie stars who have been through a lot of things, and I've coached them to get in shape, and I'm coaching some now to get in shape, and people who just want to look good with their shirt off, I can tell you there's some magic when you cross into the 12 to 14,000 step range daily. Now, this is a big commitment for some people, right? Like, man, I got to walk an extra, 4,000 steps a day. When am I going to make time for that? Well, there are some really cool ways of doing it. Number one, you can buy a walking pad for your desk or your house, where you can just literally casually walk while you're doing things like work on the computer, watching TV, and just, getting busy work done, or listening to things, or being on Zoom calls. Meetings that are done while walking are also huge, whether they're virtual meetings or in-person meetings. I've actually coached a lot of executives where when they have a one-on-one chat with one of their team members, they walk around. They go outside, or they walk around the office instead of sitting at a desk and having a face-to-face. Unless, of course, they got to show things on a computer and whatnot. But whenever possible, we take advantage of movement. Even something as silly as walking your dogs, and instead of twice a day or once a day, walking them 2 or 3 times a day. Taking your kids out to the playground, playing with them, playing basketball with your kids, taking your wife out and saying, let's go for a walk before dinner, let's go for a walk after dinner. You got to become obsessed with moving more. And movie stars are phenomenal at this. All right. Now, it helps that a lot of them live out in LA, where the weather's perfect basically like 360 days out of the year. And they get that nice, 70, 80 degree weather that's beautiful for walking. But when I commit to walking more than 12,000 steps a day, fat loss starts to happen rapidly, assuming my calories are in check, my protein's in check, my workouts are dialed in. But celebrities do not use their workouts to burn the fat. The workouts are there to build some muscle, retain muscle, but it's the walking, it's the protein sparing fasting, it's all those things that are leading to just more movement on the scale, more movement in the mirror every single week. And that starts to compound over time. So, that extra 4,000 steps, that's a 40% bump on what most people do, right? If you're hitting 14,000 versus 10,000, that extra 40% starts to compound over time, like really, really rapidly. So, you have the same person go through a 12-week fat loss phase. One person does 10,000 steps a day, tracks their calories, hits their protein goal, all that stuff. One person does the same exact thing, except they hit 14,000 steps. Man, the body transformation is going to be massively different. I can tell you firsthand, after working with 7,500 plus guys who are busy professionals, have very little time to train, but can make more time for movement throughout their day strategically, just need a strategic, simple, and sustainable plan. By the way, if you want to learn all about our program, you can check out the links below and you can learn more. But we have a guide that breaks this all down. It's called the Shredded After 30 System. It's a checklist. It's a one-page document, real easy to understand. You can get a copy of that for free. Just comment the word shred below this video and I'll gladly send it over to you. By the way, I made a whole nother video on some celebrity and movie star hacks for body transformation. I think they're the best in the world at it, and I think that you'll learn a lot from that video. I put it up here. You can check it out next, and I'll see you on that one here shortly. Talk to you then.